In the modern day, we have access to an abundance of entertainment, which leads to the rising problem of overconsumption. From the comfort of your couch, you can buy pretty much any product you choose, whether that be entertainment, clothes, food, furniture, or even drugs. We are constantly flooded with dopamine-inducing experiences at every moment of our waking lives. Dopamine, for those who don't know, is a neurotransmitter that deals with reward processing and motivation. Having the right amount of dopamine is important for your brain and body, but the problem is, we're addicted to dopamine-induced experiences that numb the pain and boredom we face in our lives. These constant dopamine-induced experiences don't last long, and they leave us craving more and more. In this video, I'll explain how our overconsumption can lead to addictive and destructive behaviors, the effect it has on our brain, and how to overcome this ever-growing problems so that you can live a more happy and fulfilling life. Compulsive overconsumption has turned us into pleasure addicts. Typically, when we think of an addict, we think of someone addicted to drugs or alcohol. In reality, you can be addicted to anything. Addiction is defined as the sustained compulsive use of any substance or behavior, even though it causes harm to you or those around you. Although we may not be considered an addict in the traditional sense, we've all become pleasure addicts one way or another in the modern age of compulsive overconsumption. A major risk factor for addiction is easy access, which explains the compulsive overconsumption behavior that the majority, if not all of us, display today. Easy access to whatever you choose leads to instant dopamine hits, which leads to overconsumption, and which then leads to a less healthy, less happy, and less purpose-driven life. These dopamine hits are tricking us into thinking we're gaining pleasure, when in reality we're gaining a lot more pain. We're becoming more miserable by trying to avoid misery. Our misery stems from trying to avoid being miserable. And when I say misery, I'm not talking about the death of a loved one, a life-changing disease, or a traumatic situation from your past. I'm talking about the constant moments in our lives of discomfort where we choose to distract ourselves and tune out, reaching for entertainment to escape the present moment. The thought of walking to class or working out without headphones may sound boring, but boredom is a great time to confront the question of purpose in our lives. When we allow empty space in our minds without distractions, we allow thoughts to come into our consciousness. First world nations across the globe have reported that citizens were less happy in 2018 when compared to 2008, and also showed higher rates of anxiety and depression compared to second and third world countries. How could this be possible when first world countries are known to have better living conditions, more freedom, and more opportunities to pursue your preferred career path? It's argued that the overconsumption of social media and other forms of entertainment are responsible for this phenomenon, where these addictive, constant dopamine hits trick us into thinking we're fighting off boredom, when in reality, they're making us more miserable. Pleasure naturally leads to pain. Pleasure isn't free. The regions of the brain that process pleasure and pain overlap and work to balance each other out. So once you get a dopamine hit, it tips the scales to the side of pleasure, where your brain kicks in to level things out again. However, the balance keeps going and tips equally to the side of pain. When it balances out on the side of pain, it typically comes in the form of a craving, where we want or even need more, causing us to build a higher tolerance. The problem is, the more we indulge in these cravings, the weaker the pleasure we receive is, and the stronger the pain or the cravings become. This explains how people become addicts and increase their consumption over time. The dopamine hits wear off faster, resulting in pleasure decreasing faster and increasing the feeling of pain or cravings a lot more. Luckily, if we can wait a bit before indulging in these cravings, the brain can balance itself out and we can enjoy life without the cravings for our destructive behaviors. Unfortunately, for heavy and long-term addicts, the recovery time can take much longer or even be permanent. Although addiction-induced brain changes can be permanent, our brain has the ability to avoid the damaged areas and find new pathways to help us make better choices. A 4-week dopamine fast helps you gain insight. Over thousands of years, the human brain was wired to live in a world of limited resources. But in today's world of abundance, our scales of pleasure and pain are tipped in such a way that we're never satisfied. With a modern mindset of always striving for more and always looking to increase productivity and multitask, it seems as though many of us have become more susceptible to feeling pain while being less able to feel pleasure. To gain clarity on this problem caused by overconsumption leading to cheap dopamine hits, we must first refrain from using whatever we're overconsuming. A 4-week dopamine fast is an excellent way to gain clarity about your overconsumption because it resets your reward pathways. 4 weeks is recommended for the dopamine fast due to a 4-week study by Professor Mark Schuckett where 80% of daily drinkers were no longer qualified as clinically depressed after abstaining from drinking. A dopamine fast could be beneficial and have mild withdrawals for video game, social media, and porn addiction, but may take much longer for other substances such as alcohol, drugs, and opioids, and can even be life-threatening. A dopamine fast should never be used for these more serious substances, and withdrawals should be medically supervised. After your 4 weeks of abstinence and dopamine fasting, you may gain a lot of insight on how strongly you're overconsuming and have the strength to keep your overconsumption in check. It may also lower your anxiety and help you enjoy life a lot more. Exposing yourself to more pain and discomfort leads to pleasure. Exposing yourself to pain or discomfort, like a cold shower for example, causes your brain to level out on the side of pleasure, which can have an effect that's longer lasting than the dopamine hit of a drug. The gradual use of pain or uncomfortable experiences increases our immunity to pain and allows us to better deal with it. Studies have shown that exposing yourself to moderate pain or discomfort can make you more resilient in future situations. 2 excellent ways to deal with pain and discomfort is exercising and intermittent fasting. Exercise puts stress on every aspect of your body while also increasing your dopamine levels and improving your well-being. Intermittent fasting can reduce your blood pressure, lengthen your lifespan, and even build a stronger resistance to many diseases. At first, it may be hard to wrap your head around the idea, but pain and discomfort could be used as a way of healing. Being truthful sets you free. Telling the truth and even admitting our shortcomings improves self-accountability. It makes us conscious of our actions and promotes intimacy and trust with others. Telling others the truth about our overconsumption problems allows them to see us in a new light, where we can better connect on a deeper level. The dopamine hits we get from overconsumption that feed into our addictive behaviors can lead to us living life on autopilot. It makes us so focused on the next dopamine hit that we don't even stop to think of the consequences of our actions. A key to gaining awareness of your addictions and overconsumption is to make a conscious effort to be very honest with yourself so you can learn how to act differently. The problem is, many of us are scared to be honest about our character flaws due to the fear of what others might think of us. In reality, however, being vulnerable with others can lead to a closer relationship with them because it could lead them to opening up about their flaws and feel that others go through the same issues as they do. Being honest and opening up to others builds intimacy, which helps us to feel safe and wanted. When we surround ourselves with honest and reliable individuals, we feel more secure about ourselves and our place in the world. And ultimately, this helps us feel that we're not alone in overcoming our addictive behaviors. Pro-social shame provides us with the humility we need. Shame is vital for building a productive community and is arguably the best reaction to dealing with transgressive behaviors such as overconsumption and addiction. The problem is, when we hear the word shame, we think only of destructive forms of shaming, such as bullying or putting a person down for their flaws. But the form of shame I'm speaking of is pro-social shame, where bad behaviors are met with understanding and opportunities for individuals to redeem themselves. Instead of being demonized for their addictive behaviors, people are forgiven on the principle that we are all flawed and worthy of forgiveness. Being in a pro-social shame situation where you're accepted for your overconsumption habits and forced to be extremely honest about it provides you with a better environment to overcome your addictive behaviors. Pro-social shame promotes humility and positivity and unites us with a solid support group where we no longer feel like we have to face our overconsumption problem alone. This form of shaming helps us gain an understanding of our shortcomings and improves our compassion for others, which is something we can never have enough of. In the current social media-driven reality we face, it seems as though we're pressured to live up to unrealistic expectations and feel like a failure if those expectations aren't met. And so when we don't meet these unrealistic expectations, we look for easy releases from reality, which leads to easy dopamine hits and over-consuming things that aren't progressing our lives whatsoever. Ask yourself this: do you want to be living a life filled of unhealthy dopamine hits a year from now? What about 5 years from now? Looking at the bigger picture gives you a better perspective on how to act on a daily basis, which hopefully will give you more motivation to change. Instead of escaping reality with these destructive dopamine hits on a daily basis, why not face these problems head on? Embrace the life you live. Pay attention to the countless nuances you face and strive for balance in all aspects of your life. You may not see instant results, but your patience and perseverance will be met with what every human desires: a life worth living. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can watch more motivating and educational content that will help you succeed in the modern world we live in. Thank you and have a blessed day.